This is Space Jesus Billy Starks, and you're listening to Sit Down Marks podcast with Primo, DD, and AJ.
And Dylan.
Hey, yo.
If I can be serious for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Come on in. Sit down. It's episode number 160 of the Sit Down Marks podcast. And today's title is Who's Up Next? We're going to be talking about the top stars on the independents. We're also going to be talking about the latest in AEW Double or Nothing reactions and also WWE Saturday night's main event. But first, let me introduce you to my panel of marks bringing at you today on the East Coast. The hosts with the most, the Lucha Daddy, the OG. Primo, what's going on, my man?
Not a whole lot. Welcome back. Episode 160 of the Sit Down Marks podcast. That's the flagship, the Hall of Fame podcast, the award-winning, beer-drinking, apple pie contest-winning podcast. Sit Down Marks, episode 160. Welcome.
And the most traveled Midwest independent wrestling fan, El Sombrero Verde. What's going on, Dylan? Good to see you, brother.
Hello, my friends. We meet again. It's been a while. We're over here vibing and thriving. Felt like there was 87 wrestling shows last week. We got more coming up this week. Fired up. It's gonna be a great time.
Yeah, man. Fired up too, man. And can you believe it, guys? 160, Primo. Here we are, man.
I just realized that Dylan's entrance is Creed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you take me high?
Oh, man.
Yeah,
get that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So 160 episodes of the flagship, man. You know, we've since broken off. We got some new side projects going, which we'll talk about later, obviously, but 160 of these, man, hard to believe that, we're, pushing 5 years coming up and 200 episodes, just around the corner in 2026. Pretty wild, right, Primo?
Wow. 200 episodes.
Yeah.
I didn't even, that's hard to wrap my mind around. I mean, when we started this thing, I don't even know if we knew we were going to do 50, much less 100, much less 160. So going to 200, obviously that's going to happen. I mean, at this point, 200 is easily attainable. 200, 250, on and on and on. But I look forward to it, and I'm glad we've gotten this far, especially with you steering the ship, my friend.
Yes, sir, man. And no stopping now, man. We're going to keep going till we're over, baby, till Dusty tells us to go get over, So,
I mean, we are over, but not that over.
Right. Yeah, but speaking of Billy Starks, man, we heard her on the intro, she's picking up in ROH. She got some big matches. She just announced a match in GCW that me and Dylan's kind of got her head kind of spinning around a little bit versus Adam Priest. So shout out to her, man. She's doing the thing. Speaking of, who's up next, there was a point where she was on the list that, we're going to be talking about today, and so we hope that, these same people, will make it as successful as Billy. But, let's talk about that real fast, Dylan, before we kick off the show, man. Somebody like Billy, that you've seen basically grow up, you know what I mean, in the ring, in front of your eyes, in St. Louis Anarchy, other promotions that she ended up being featured in, now she's in the big
of
stage.
The Sit Down Marks podcast.
Yeah, and then and finally got her on the podcast. That was awesome, but that's gotta be pretty cool for you too, huh?
Yeah, it's wild. I think I first saw Billy when she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't believe she was 16. Somebody mentioned that, and I was like, "Oh, she must started training at 16, and now she's 21 or whatever."
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh no, she's actually 16 now."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh wow, that is crazy." We got her back in St. Louis Anarchy tomorrow night. Always good whenever she comes back around. It's not surprised at the same time. Love to see it, but this is kind of what we all were expecting.
Sure. I mean, I never will ever expect her to remember of being on our little podcast, but I'm glad that we got her when we did. You know what I mean? Because there'd be no chance of getting her now. Shout out to Mouse too, man. You know what I mean? So You know,
Mouth is the best.
yeah, he's a big success behind Billy, and what cool guy, man. So
I was real close. It was episode 43, and it was December of 2021. And if I remember correctly, when she was on our podcast, she was still in high school.
Oh yeah,
yeah, super cool, man, super cool. So, all right, Primo, if you're ready, man, let's kick this thing off. It's hot start time, baby. 5 topics in the world of pro wrestling. Five. So tons of WWE events have been announced lately, man. Tons of them, right? So let's kick it off with probably the one I'm most excited about, man. And I fucking love this poster, man. Like this gets me all geeked up, man. Yeah, this is a sick poster. Worlds collide. There's a lot going on here. With the acquisition of Triple A by WWE. We're gonna be seeing more of these shows. Where they're gonna be integrated. And here's the first one. It's the same day as Money in the Bank in Los Angeles. It's going to be a daytime show. But you look at this poster, like right off the bat, we see Ray, we see Vikingo, which like puts a tear in my eye on WWE poster, right? It's just wild.
Yeah.
He's going to be wrestling against Gable. And you see Stephanie Vakir, and some other WWE stars. But what blows my mind? Yeah, man. Evil Clown, Pagano, Psycho Clown, like on a WWE poster, man. This is mind blowing to me, right?
Yeah. I'm looking at this, and it's no hate. I actually like Javon Evans. I was just curious. He's like the one NXT dude on the poster.
I believe you're right. Maybe, yeah.
I'm looking at it now. Yeah,
yes, I love this poster.
Is that Lola Vice on there? I think she's in.
Down low left side.
Yeah. But not a whole lot of the NXT people. That's
pretty cool. I really like this. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think it's dope too, man. I was looking at this earlier today when I was setting everything up for the pod, and I was like, look at these guys on the WWE. I'm excited for this, man. I really am. So, and then we're already announcing Gable and Vikingo in a big match already for on this card. So, man, this gets me even more excited, about this, man. So
there's going to be run-ins, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Apparently, I haven't paid enough attention to AAA to know how accurate this all is.
Sure.
Apparently, they advertised Vikingo and Gable for a title, right? Okay, neither one of them is currently that champion.
Right.
That champion's currently Alberto Del Rio, and he and Vikingo are wrestling this weekend or something like that.
Whoopsie.
So maybe a left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing type thing. Right. But spoiler alert.
Interesting.
It's the title match, but neither guy's the current champ. So
it said the Mega Championship on the graphic. So
you know what? I did just notice one travesty here. There's no Grande Americano.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Or Penta.
I noticed no Penta. His brother's on there. I mean, if my brother was on there and I wasn't, I would take that.
Sure.
But El Noel Grande Americano, he's a freaking legend in this game. So I can't believe that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So this is cool. Like I said, doubling up Money in the Bank, June 7th. They also have in June, which June is loaded up now because on the 28th is Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. So that'll be a daytime show. They also have in Atlanta just announced Saturday night's main event, Great American Bash and Evolution all in the same weekend. July, I think it's 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere around in there, all going to be in Atlanta. So 3 shows big in Atlanta. Australia is getting Crown Jewel this year in August. So we got to talk about, what the big talk was last week. So Mania 42 moved to Las Vegas, taken away from New Orleans. Now New Orleans is going to get Money in the Bank, but Money in the Bank is usually in June, but they're scheduled to have it in August of 2026. So that's a little weird. So
after SummerSlam?
Yeah. Anybody find out what happened with New Orleans? We've never seen
I
that
haven't
before,
heard anything.
right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't find out why, but
yeah, I was just wondering, why, New Orleans lost it, but
yeah. there's been venue changes. Like I think it
Sure.
was Mania 7, I think, was supposed to be in like the LA Coliseum and then got
Yeah.
moved to a small the arena instead of the stadium.
Yep. Yeah.
Depending on who you believe, it's either ticket sales or a terrorist threat, one of the
Right.
two. But I don't remember ever a whole city having it announced that it's coming to your city and then being
Yeah.
like, hey, psych, we're not actually.
Yeah. No, just kidding. Like, yeah. So I don't know, but and then also later this year, SummerSlam's in New Jersey and Minneapolis gets it next year. Now I know we were, and a lot of people were saying, man, Indianapolis would be awesome to move it, but did you find out, I think, Primo?
It just says that, I think they're prioritizing different things. They expected it to be more lucrative as far as WrestleMania goes, but then they maybe prioritize the UFC over there instead as if they give them a fight.
I see. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the revenue, they said it's a revenue thing. They expected more.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're really worried about running shows up next to each other because June 7th is Worlds Collide. That night is Money in the Bank. Same time is
that's right.
O'Malley and Marab.
Marab.
The two.
Ooh.
But the time
Sugar
frame
Sean.
is probably, for the main event, it'll be way late. You know what I mean? So, they're not really worrying about that. But all right, topic number 2, boys.
Yeah.
We gotta have a little small melancholy and talk about Terrence Brunk, aka ECW legend Sabu. We lost just a couple weeks ago now. So what will you guys always remember about Sabu, man? You know what I mean? Like, what will always come to mind when you think about him? Pointing to the air.
Dude, for me, Sabu, I always knew him as, what did they call him? The homicidal, genocidal, death-defying Sabu.
Yeah.
But I always knew that if I knew Sabu was going to be a match, like, all bets were off. Like, I knew that dude was he didn't mind putting his whole body on the line, the line to entertain the crowd. I saw him many times just launch himself in a direction.
Right.
Like, he was extremely entertaining. He gave way more than he had to the fans, and he definitely will be missed.
Yeah, so my first Sabu experience is actually a WCW Halloween Havoc against Mr. JL. Not the Sabu match everybody's talking about now, but just an absolute legend. I remember like hearing about Sabu before I ever saw Sabu.
Right.
And that was even like before the internet was huge. So I don't even know how that happened. But remember like hearing about his stuff in ECW before I ever got a chance to watch it.
Yeah.
And then you go back and watch, the barbed wire match with Terry Funk, and you could just go on and on. That's probably the one that stands out the most to me. That and his the very last match he had over Mania weekend, him and Joey Janela. If y'all haven't watched that, go check it out. It's a spectacle. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, it is. A spectacle's a good way to. Good way. I went back and watched it since his passing. I'll always remember about Sabu, man. Obviously, always the steel chair. You know what I mean? Like always, it's like synonymous with him, jumping over it, throwing it at people's face. Like I think he was the first one I actually saw like somebody actually just throw a chair at somebody. You know what I mean? You've heard me talk about this, but like, probably most likely the first time I saw Sabu was one of Dad's ECW, trader tapes. You know what I mean? So, somewhere around in there, but like, I'll always remember like his, the Taz feud, RVD feud. Yeah. It's weird with him, man, because like I never felt like I was watching a death match with him, right? Somebody fart? No. But I never felt like I was watching a death match when I watched, but that was, kind of his style, you know what I mean? But but we definitely lost the legend Sabu. He's there's probably a handful of 4 or 5 guys when I think ECW, he'll always be right there. You know what I mean?
Definitely
So,
top of the list. Yeah.
yeah. Topic number 3, boys. AEW Double or Nothing just happened over the weekend. Solid show, I would say. I'll be honest, man. I know there for a while I was really against it, but like over the last probably 4 or 5 months, and I've said this before, I just want to reiterate, I'm leaning more back into AEW. I'm digging a little more of the storylines. It's just like anything else. I like, but this pay-per-view, I really enjoyed it, really from top to bottom. I thought the Anarchy in the arena was crazy. Let the bodies hit the floor, played the whole time, and I was just like mind blown, right? Like I wanted to be there. You know what I mean? Like, look how cool that would be, like to be there. You know what I mean? Or, it's kind of wild. It gave me like New Jack vibes, with the music
absolutely.
playing.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I didn't there was some wild, crazy spots, and I definitely don't ever care for stapling anybody in the mouth, and the tongue and stuff like it. Just, but what I guess what really roped me in here was I would have bet my house and home and farm and kids that Will Ospreay was winning this fucking match, and Hangman won, and my jaw dropped. You know what I mean? I like Hangman.
Yeah.
I just get Magnum TA vibes from him, and I'm still shocked that he won, man. I'm like, holy cow, they're putting this is the guy, and then Will Ospreay comes out with Swerve on Dynamite and says, you know what I mean? So they're really putting their chips in on Hangman here. He's really becoming like a huge baby face there, which is kind of wild, but man. Mercedes still being undefeated was you know what I mean? But overall, man, I think right now AEW is kind of doing some fun, interesting things. And of course, I love anything that Tony Storm's doing. But, what about you guys? You guys like anything on the card?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it live. Had to catch up on Monday. Shout out the day off work to catch up on all the wrestling pay-per-views. Anarchy in the Arena. If I'm nitpicking, it could have been a little shorter.
Yes.
It did go on for quite a while, but I still really enjoyed it. Like I said, that's just looking for something to complain about. I'm like you, DB. Like I easily could have been homeless come Monday because I would have put everything I own on Ospreay beating Hangman and beating Mox in July. But the story is there with Hangman, and they've been telling it. It just really seemed like they was going to go a different direction, and Ospreay so hot they were going to put the belt on him. But I'm hoping Hangman beats Mox. That match, that main event was just incredible. The Briscoe Ricochet ambulance match, that was wild.
Mark went nuts, didn't he?
Went nuts, man. Yeah, that was a classic or vintage Briscoe performance there. Happy to see him on the card. Love seeing Nigel on the card. That's always fun. I'm kind of like you. The Mercedes winning, I saw it come in, and it is what it is. But I thought the match itself was really good. But yeah, I mean, worth the money. Even watching it a day late, it was worth the money. Good pay-per-view. Yep.
Primo, did you catching of it?
So I saw a video. It said new move unlocked, and it was Briscoe having Ricochet in a headlock. He was shining up his head. Yeah, that was so funny, dude. That was hilarious. And unlike you guys, I actually bet my house on the other guy to win, so I knew the Hangman was going to win.
You did?
So no, just kidding. I didn't know that, but no, I'm with you guys on this.
Yeah. Also, this past Saturday night, we had Saturday night's main event back in Tampa. The advertised big main event was, I don't think it was main event. Well, I think the cage match was the main event. Was John Cena versus Ron Cena.
Ron Cena, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, man, what a heck of a Funko there, man. So I
was actually surprised he came out to Cena's music.
Yeah, so he comes out, Cena's old music, man. Yeah, that was great, man. Did you guys like Saturday night's main event? Is it still pretty cool for you?
So I'm gonna be honest. I think I mentioned this in the Discord. So if you haven't seen it, anybody can join the Discord right now. I dropped the link earlier. But no, I mentioned it before. I actually forgot about Saturday night's main event until like it was actively going on, and that's crazy because as we all know, I'm a WWE mark, but I don't know. I've been so busy.
Sure.
But I think probably my favorite thing of the whole show was definitely a steel cage match. I was surprised that Damian went over.
Man, I feel like Drew don't win nothing, man.
Yeah,
y'all feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, I liked it because it was just those two dudes are just gonna throw down and just beat the hell out of each other.
Heck
But I like Priest. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Eventually Drew's gonna be back on top eventually.
Right. Gotta give him something.
I had a bad feeling that was coming because Drew won at Mania. If he won at Mania and then beat Priest again, like that doesn't do anything for Priest. But it's the classic 50-50. This guy won at Mania, so now the other guy has to win sometime in the next month.
Now they got to have a grudge match.
Yeah, but Jesse Ventura's commentary during the cage match was fantastic. Going off about him exiting through the door and what a cowardly move. Yeah. How can you do that?
I was like, Jesse, I mean, if you're just not watching. Just not watching the product anymore.
Like he was talking about him being the only commentator to have a wrestling match, and then he was like, "Well, and Pat just did it," and then Cole spoke up. I was like, "I'm undefeated at WrestleMania."
He always,
the whole time I'm thinking they're going like Jerry Lawler, famously did both for a very long time. Are we just forgetting about that? But whatever. I loved Bronson, Bronson Reed showing up. I loved him being back. That spot is kind of questionable with him joining Seth after they were just in a.
I don't think that's who any of us were chosen, but I'm waiting.
I'm the same spot.
I gotta say, I'm glad to see him back. I wasn't happy to see him injured because he was one of my top 5 to win the Rumble. Because he was so hot last year.
Good.
Yeah.
But excuse me. I call him all. Baby arm shake because every time he does a tsunami he shakes his arms like that. But I actually love Bronson Reed. I'm a big fan of him. If you're not Royster, then you should get on board. But no, I kind of dig it. Like I Seth and two just freaking bruisers, two big
news named Braun
dude. So as far as the main event goes, though, we knew how it was going to shake out, obviously, but I don't like the outcome of not so much the outcome of the main event. Like I said, we knew the outcome of the match itself, the ending of the match. Cody returning,
right.
To me, I was like, okay, so he's back since WrestleMania. That was just like the other day, so I didn't feel like it was that long.
Yeah.
But and then on top of that, so this is a me thing. I don't know if we're gonna get to this later, but I just want to talk about it real quick. Cena only has so many matches left.
Yeah.
And I'm not really interested in him wasting it in a tag team match.
Yeah. I agree.
That's just me.
That's the Money in the Bank match, right? Him and Logan versus.
Yeah. And it's not been officially announced yet, but they kind of teased it. Cena's got his title, Uso's got his title. They kind of set the precedent last year that the Saudi show is champ versus champ.
The crown jewel thing.
And that's for the big belt that we roll out once a year, just so the winner can pose
the new rings. They're gonna collect rings.
They got the rings. But so that, I think DB, when you were running through it, I think you said that's in June, maybe.
28th.
That's right around the corner. So I'm sure they're wheels in motion for that.
Yeah.
Small thing, the Cena match. I watch WWE every week. I watched the whole Saturday night's main event show. I did not realize that was not even a title match until I heard somebody mention it after the fact. That Cena was non-title, just a regular singles match. I was like, okay.
Truth's mission was just to beat Cena back into it or whatever.
We'll beat you back into the old
over my head. But I thought it was a good show. 2 hours on a Saturday night.
I love Truth.
it's
That
fun.
dude does not age.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah. I think the biggest puzzle was just coming out. I'm like, man, dang, like Drew lost again. Like, I would have thought he would win this, or we were going like a Donnybrook going home or something. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So I do got a quick question for you, DB. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe we talked about on the pod. You said like you needed something like big from Saturday night's main event. Like you needed like a title change or something big. Was this like close enough, or did it still? Still missing something for you?
The cage match. I love that. You know, they were talking about like the nostalgia. I like that touch. I think like maybe, I like that. Like, you know what I mean? I think that definitely elevated the show and brought it up, and I'm glad they went home with that instead of the Cody return. You know what I mean? So, I'm definitely be all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With that. But I think I think that definitely works for now. You know, I still want to see like a big, title change or something, coming up. I think that next one will be in a couple weeks in July, I guess. The one in Atlanta,
Yeah, the one
is
in
probably
Atlanta,
the next one.
Yeah,
Which
probably
it's Cody territory. So
yeah,
that'd be interesting.
So how do we end this one? We ended this one with Drew face down and Damian walking out, right?
Yeah.
And then the last one, we last one. I love the last one. We ended it with Cody or KO standing over Cody with the Winged Eagle belt. That was sweet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
But so somebody mentioned in our Discord that they PLEs and PPVs and special events are happening too often. I personally think it's been the same cadence as far as pay-per-view or PLEs go. They've always done Backlash like within 2 or 3 weeks to 4 weeks after WrestleMania. And then they're just throwing these Saturday night main events like as like here and there fillers, but they're not even that long. I really don't think the cadence is too frequent as far as big events go. AEW has their 4, big ones, and then they do their, little ones here and there too. But
Wednesday night stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not personally. It doesn't really bother me as far as the frequency of it, because it's just like we got that Saturday night's main event last week.
Yeah.
And then Money in the Bank's coming up really quickly. So I don't know. Keeps us entertained.
It's not any one promotion doing it too often. It's when you try to watch everything.
I think that's
like when you have like this weekend, for example, TNA on Friday night, their like app special, and then Saturday night's main event, and then NXT pay-per-view on Sunday, AEW pay-per-view on Sunday. And you got to watch it all before Raw on Monday. That's when it starts to be a lot. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it does. And you think about it too, like, so June 7th is going to have Worlds Collide, Money in the Bank. June 28th is going to have this Night of Champions in Saudi. So there's basically 3 shows in a month, but two of them being the same day don't really make it feel like it's more than what it is. You know what I mean? So,
and not really, crapping on the other 2, but for me personally, like Money in the Bank is the one that month that I'm looking at as like the PLE, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The other 2 are like sub programs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just saying, and another thing too is and then 2 weeks later after Saudi, we get Saturday night's main event again,
right?
Evolution, and then the following month is Crown Jewel. So they're doing, at least one seems like a month, and almost sometimes 2. You know what I mean? But there's so many branches now, right? Triple A branch, NXT.
I was going to say, not to mention what they got going on in NXT. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that Evolution weekend, all the shows you mentioned for them, that's the same weekend as the AEW Stadium show.
Yep.
And I think Ring of Honor has a pay-per-view that weekend. And most importantly, cheap plug, it's the biggest Dreamwave show of all time.
Sure.
So I don't know how you're going to be watching all these other shows.
Is that the Summer Spectacular?
That Summer Spectacular.
Yeah. 2 o'clock.
Why wouldn't you be there? But
all of that to say, wrestling fans, we got it good right now.
What a great time.
We do.
What a great time.
Topic number 4, boys. So I just want to ask the question, so they had this WWE release list, a while back. It had Zoe, it had Meechin on it, B-Fab, Kairi Sane was released, and all of a sudden now she's back. These people are still on TV. You know what I mean? Like, was the list bogus?
I think there was a rumor list and a real list.
Okay. All right. So that must have been, I was wondering, because I'm like, how are some of these people that I thought speaking
I mean,
of
the
Zoe,
only thing from Zoe that left was her knee.
Man.
So, and I feel
God.
bad for her there. That looked terrible.
Very terrible.
I mean, I lived with somebody who blew their knee out. It's not fun to deal with. So, no, feel bad for her.
Yeah, I just thought that was a little wild, but anyhow, topic number 5, boys, before we get to dropkick discussion, we got to talk about another crazy thing going on in wrestling right now. Trick Williams, a WWE contracted wrestler, is the TNA World Champion, right? This is wild.
I love Santina. Chicky Williams.
Chicky Williams. Yeah, he's still so good.
I like it. I didn't see it coming. I had a couple people ask me over the weekend, like, so you think Trick's winning? I was just like, no, Joe's going to retain as TNA.
So,
thinking about it after the fact, I'm like, yeah, I actually really like it. There's not like a tippy top level heel in TNA that could have beat Joe right now. They can always heat somebody up, but having it go to NXT, Trick Williams, do a whole different story that we haven't really seen a whole lot of with a different company holding the belt. I'm excited. I like it.
It's interesting the way they lined it up too, because the first thing was Obafemi and the Obafemi Moose crossover. And then shortly after that, we had the triple threat with Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and Obafemi. And then after that, the next NXT after that is whenever we had Obafemi, Trick Williams, and then Hendry popped up into the scene. But it almost seemed like they were going to put Oba against Joe. But then obviously Trick Williams is the heel these days, and he was able to do it. He got that one-on-one match with TNA, or excuse me, Battleground. No, I think it's awesome. I really think it's awesome. It's honestly unprecedented.
Very.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like Kenny Omega did hold it when he was with AEW, and Christian held it when he was with AEW.
Right.
But we've never seen anything like this with a WWE. Like them just acknowledging outside wrestling is still wild.
That's kind of what I meant was like it's still very weird to see WWE even like talk about other things.
Yeah, it is, man. Yeah. Yep, pretty wild. All right, boys, that's going to do it for the hot start. It's time to move on to the dropkick discussion of the week. Let's talk about who's up next. But before we do, let's hear a little word from Sabotage.
This is Sabotage, and you're listening to Sit Down Mark's podcast.
Stay tuned, Sabotage. Coming back soon. Stay tuned. All right, so it's time to talk about what we're going to talk about. So today, classic fashion.
Classic, yeah. OG fans would know that, Dylan.
Yeah.
He's our OG fan.
Yeah. All right. And we're going to talk about who's up next. Who's up next to be signed soon on the indies? Who's coming up next? Who's the top talent on the indies? Where can they be seen? Dylan's going to run this for you now. Just give you a little background on Dylan. Dylan's a very well-established Midwest wrestling fan. He goes to a ton of shows, and he's always at a bunch of different shows. So he definitely has an eye on talent. In the Midwest, but not only Midwest, like he's covering everything in the United States, of course. So we definitely got to he's definitely tuned into what's going on in the indie world. So I work for some companies, so I'm going to remain a little bit neutral during all this. So wait to get back to Dylan here. Looks like we lost Dylan for a second, but But yeah, but like we were talking about earlier, you know, people like Billy Starks that was on you know, that was on the podcast. Now you can catch her in ROH, you can catch her, you know, so people on the indies who, you know, who are moving up. So
You know, get the old sit down Marks racket strapped to your back. You know, things happen.
right. Yeah. We give you the rub. That's what happens. You get
That's what
signed.
happens.
So, yep. All right. So while we wait on Dylan to come back, so we're going to talk about men's singles, women's singles, and also you know, a few tag teams. Now, you know, we're going to be doing 5 for each category, but you know, not necessarily in any kind of particular order, you know, so to speak. So just, you know, just didn't want to, so, you know, just because we talked about the first one, you know, in the category doesn't mean who that's the person we're thinking is going to be the number one guy, but, or girl, whichever. So, all right, so I'm going to kick this list off here while we're waiting on Dylan to hop back in. Dylan's 5 here listed. I'm going to talk about one that I know, like right off the bat, super familiar with, and that's Connor Hopkins. You know, he is the current Dreamwave champion right now, and he is, you know, he's been all over the Midwest, and he's, you know, beyond. You've seen him in a lot of different places. You know, he is on the cusp of getting a contract here, you know, probably pretty soon. So looking forward to seeing Dylan. Can you hear us?
Dylan's reporting live from the underground.
yeah. So, all right. Next on his list is Joshua Bishop, another guy, you know, being seen in the Midwest a lot. Titus Alexander and Adam Priest and Tim Bosby are his top 5. Like I said, in no particular order to be signed. His women 5 are Lainey Luck, Brooke Havoc, Hyan, Brittany Brooks, and Becca. You know, also all big stars. His top 5 tag teams, like I said, in no particular order: C4, Violence is Forever, Miracle Generation, PME, and the new guys. They just fresh off winning the Road Warrior Cup this weekend. So honorable mentions for Dylan: BK Westbrook, Manders, Channing Thomas, Jordan Oliver, and Cody Lane in the singles area there. For women, his honorable mentions were Vert Vixen, Shaza McKenzie, Johnny Robbie, and Missa Kate. And then for tag teams, he had Culture Incorporated, Fly Deaf, and Bang & Matthews as his top to be signed. So
yeah.
All right, so Dylan kind of put this list together here, and right as we go to start talking about it, he's having some internet issues, but a very good list here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't, you know, I'm not as deep into the indie scene as you guys are.
Right.
But I have learned of this guy a while back. He was actually trained in the Nightmare Factory. His name he calls himself the Wrestling Warden.
Okay.
And he's a big dude, and he does a variation of the Black Hole Slam that's like freaking looks like he's destroying dudes. I think he's pretty cool. Yeah, man. I mean, there's a bunch out there. I mean, you mentioned Connor Hopkins earlier,
right?
I think that dude is just his potential is pretty much limitless for as high as he wants to take it.
Right. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Adam Priest too, man. He is big in Georgia. He's wrestling in GCW a lot. You know, he's probably one of the guys that are about to be signed. So we just heard from Dylan. Sounds like he lost his power, so he's going to try to get his Wi-Fi back up. But yeah. So, but yeah, you're talking about Connor, man. Like, yeah, like I'm really on surprised he don't like have a contract yet. But Laney Luck, big in the Midwest. Brooke Havoc, seen her wrestle a lot in Dreamwave, along with High End, Brittany Books, and Becca. Vert Vixen, she's one that's kind of like, that's going to be, in a lot of people's names and mouths talking about her here pretty soon. A lot more people find out about her. Missa Kate's been on the Midwest scene for a long time. She's gonna, have a big future here. But yeah, solid list here from Dylan for these lists coming up. New guys, we were talking about them, the tag teams out of St. Louis. They just won the Road Warrior Cup last weekend. They beat the Premier, and they're about to run that back at Dreamwave here in just a couple weeks. So that's going to be pretty sweet. But all right, well, I don't think Dylan's going to be making it back here. Maybe we'll just have to circle back to his list one of these days here. So
hey man, it happens.
Circle back.
Sometimes
it happens. Yep.
Even the best have technical difficulties.
That's right.
In 160 episodes, and we know we've had our fair share.
Sure. Yep. So we still figure it. All right. Well, I guess Primo, it's time to go home, brother. Let's kick it on up out of here.
All right. Well, you know what to say as you say.
This is referee Dan Perch, and come celebrate pro wrestling right here on the Sit Down Marks podcast.
All right, I want to thank everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook and everybody listening on all those audio podcast platforms out there. We really appreciate all the support. Remember to go follow at Sit Down Marks on all social media. If you got a service or product you'd like for us to advertise or get over for you, please email me, dbonthemic@yahoo.com, or hit us up on any of those socials, and we'd love to get back to you. Also, you heard Primo talk about it. We have a Discord. You can go to any of our social media and ask us for the link, or it's probably posted there on somewhere. So come by, join the Discord. Really appreciate it. I want to tell you about Primo and I's side projects. Let's first talk about Primo's side projects. His side project here, Cheap Pops with Primo, another version coming out here real soon. So Primo, what goes on, man, on your show here?
So Cheap Pops with Primo, it's basically I'll start with an idea of maybe something I've been thinking about in wrestling lately, or something that's been on my mind, or something that's happening in current events that we aren't going to talk about here on the show, the main pod, as I call it. It's going to go down on Cheap Pops with Primo, 15 to 20-minute segment. It's just me talking to you guys, and it's a lot of fun, and I love it when you guys check it out.
All right. And then also my little side project, I go on DB's Territory Treasures. Only 2 episodes so far. Andre the Giant and Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. What I am basically is I'm just talking about guys from the old Territory days, talking about what we loved about these characters so much, and maybe, and I'm trying to, come up with some stuff and find out about, maybe that we didn't know about these wrestlers, and just kind of, remember them, appreciate them for what they did, for the business, like in the Andre the Giant episode, I mentioned that that I ended up finding out that he lived like 2 hours from me. You know what I mean?
Thought that was super cool.
Yeah, I thought this is kind of wild. So that kind of stuff, would kind of be talked about, that kind of stuff, and and then so look for more of those to be coming out here soon.
Those are, I got to tell you, DB, those are really, really enjoyable. I like the stories you put into those. And the kind of the background knowledge you put into those Territory Treasures. I loved that Andre one. The Kurt Hennig one was good too. That's a great. It was a great addition, and I look forward to more of them.
Yeah. All right, so we got Dylan back. All right, Dylan. So while you were gone, man, I went through your whole list. If you kind of want to go over it, we can. If not, we can circle back and do another pod about it later. But I basically just kind of read off your list. But if you just kind of want to talk about it, man, go ahead.
Let's just highlight one or two. We don't have to run through all of it again. Let me pull my notes back up.
Just so you know, I didn't do your list justice. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
Yeah.
I did my best. Yeah.
I apologize, guys. It's storming here tonight. Lost power there for a
Happens.
second. So let's just highlight a couple of these. Start with the guys, the men. Tim Bosby. I swear the WWE ID program was made for this guy, even though he's yet to be signed. He's young, great amateur background, doing a lot of good stuff in the Southeast. He's deceptively big.
Yeah.
Watched him on TV a couple of times, and I thought he was just kind of like your average indie wrestler size. And then saw him live in person a couple of times, and the guy's got really good size on him. Doing really good stuff down in like Action and TWE with Dylan Hales as his mouthpiece. Moving on, Adam Priest. Brian Danielson came out last week and said Adam Priest is the best indie worker in the States.
Yeah.
If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, like, I don't know what does. If the guy wasn't from the South, or if he was like 6 inches taller, he'd already be on your TV in the main event every week. Still just a ridiculous good talent. Connor Hopkins, another guy on the list. Great promo, great in the ring. Connor is a better representation of like peak Ring of Honor than the current Ring of Honor product is.
So true.
Guys, he's awesome. Love that guy. Move on down to the women. We'll keep this going pretty fast here. Lainey Luck, I do not know how she is not on TV. She's doing great stuff in the Midwest. We see her quite a bit in St. Louis. She's the first ever Glory Pro Women's Champ. She's on a heck of a run at St. Louis Anarchy. She already works with AEW doing like extra stuff for Dynamite and Ring of Honor whenever they're in the Chicago area. Like, come on, Tony Khan, just get that contract out already. High End's another one kind of in that same boat where it's like I don't quite understand how High End's not been signed somewhere yet. AEW, TNA, WWE, like somebody. She wrestles all over the place, all over the globe. Great wrestler. Brittany Brooks is one I'm surprised hasn't been signed to at least an ID program.
Right.
We here again at Dreamwave see her all the time. Instantly became a huge star. First ever Dreamwave Women's Champ. Kind of just came out of nowhere for me. I didn't know about her until Dreamwave, and then seeing what she has done at Dreamwave came out of nowhere. Force behind the women's division. Just she's still very young, so there's no doubt a contract will be somewhere in her future. One of the names on the honorable mentions list, if you will, Shaza McKenzie, just begging TNA to sign her at this point. She can work face, she can work heel, and it can be the super sympathetic babyface, or if her role dictates it, she can be an absolute bitch. She goes either way.
Right.
One of the hardest working people I know. Her and Lainey just started doing a new tag team that would just be absolutely perfect for TNA's tag division. Not a whole lot of depth there, so adding them makes all the sense in the world to me.
Sure.
I'm just a guy on a podcast, not running a wrestling company. Then on the tag teams I've struggled with a little bit, not because there's not talented teams on the indies. It's just, like the Machine Guns got signed 15 years after they were at their height.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of tag division, or not a whole lot of focus from either WWE or AEW in the tag scene.
Mm-hmm.
But like Violence is Forever has been the best team on the indies for a couple years now. If Ring of Honor was still around, they would be absolutely perfect for Ring of Honor, that kind of style. C4 out on the West Coast, kind of like I said about Priest in the South. If C4 wasn't on the West Coast, if they were East Coast, they'd already be on TV. Both of those guys, Cody Chun and Guillermo Rosas, great singles wrestlers, great as a team. Check out their stuff out at Defy and out at Prestige and places like that. And I had to give some love to my guys, the new guys.
Sure.
They're young, so young, man. But they have already worked the Hardys for fourth, or they just get it. I saw them a handful of times this past weekend, and every time I see them, they've gotten better. They've tightened something up, added something new.
Yeah.
For only being a couple years into the business, they are just at a ridiculous level right now.
Right.
They're kind of like I said about Brittany. Like there's no doubt a contract will be somewhere in their future sooner rather than later.
For sure. All right, let's stick with you, man. What's going on this weekend, man? What's your preview like?
Yeah, let me switch out my notes here. So for just me personally, I will be at St. Louis Anarchy tomorrow. See me, come say hi.
What's the name of that show tomorrow?
That is a great question. Legacy of Fury. They're doing something kind of new this year. They're doing like a season format. So instead of running like every other month for the whole year, they ran 3 shows back-to-back months. That'd be like March, April, May. They're going to take off June, and then they'll come back and finish out their 2025 season in July, August, September. So that show, like I said earlier, Laney Luck, Billy Starks, probably the match I'm most excited for all weekend. They're running it back at Anarchy tomorrow. Got Aaron Williams defending the Destination title against Camaro Jackson.
Love this Camaro boy.
Yeah, Mad Dog Connolly's got some buzz on him right now. He'll be back in action.
Don't he? Yeah. Daniel Bryan mentioned him too, didn't he?
Right. Yeah. He it was Mad Dog Priest in the main event of that show.
Yeah.
He said something along the lines of like, I've not seen Mad Dog yet, but I cannot wait to see him, or something along those lines.
Awesome.
Trios match. Check this one out. Matt Fitchett teaming with the new guys. They kind of have their own thing going, but they're going up against the unlikely trio of Gary J, Anakin Murphy, and Jeremy Wyatt. We see Gary and Anakin together, but adding Wyatt into that mix. Different styles there.
Right.
And we'll move on. Also tomorrow night, got West Coast Pro. One of my new favorite tag teams, the Cowboy Way. Shout out the one called Manders and Thomas Shire. Defending the West Coast titles against Los Suavecitos. Maggie Lee's making her debut out there. Adam Priest is back at that show. Becca's at that show. It's a pretty loaded card from West Coast. C4 up in Canada's got a big show. Revolver's back in action this weekend with Matt Justice versus Kroll. That's just going to be wild. And wrapping up
like
the weekend
fuckery.
Out on the West Coast, Deadlock Pro and Prestige and West Coast Pro are coming together, calling it United, something they're kind of working with there.
Okay.
Again, Shire and Manders defending against Sinner and Saint. Real good team out of the West Coast. Got Allen Angels versus Jordan Oliver. Jake Something, he's back. DBU, and I saw Jake Something show up at AEW a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, man. That was
Jake,
awesome.
Oh, so cool. So unexpected. So cool. Jake's teaming up with Matt Tremont to take on Adam Priest and Mad Dog Conley. That'll be wild. And then 2 guys back on the indies after WWE runs. I'm really excited for this one. We got Trevor Lee versus Cedric Alexander. They're both going to have that chip on their shoulder, and that should be something pretty special out there. And that wraps up the preview for this week. Like I said, if you see me at Anarchy, come say hi. I'd love to say hi to you.
Nice. So you just got Anarchy Friday's only show this weekend?
I think
so far.
I debated going to Indiana, debated going to Nashville, but I think we're just going to call it Anarchy and call it good this week.
There you go. All right, so this is the last pod for May, and what's coming up in June? Well, episode number 161, we're going to be talking about pro wrestling schools and academies all over the United States. So if you're an aspiring young wrestler, you're wanting to learn about all the schools going on in the United States, we're going to fill you in on all of them coming up. And then after that, we got an episode where we're going to be talking about historic wrestling venues, the ones we grew up going to, the ones that are legendary in wrestling lore. We'll be talking about all of those. Primo and I will be coming back. Primo with Cheap Pops, and I'll have another territory treasure rolling out for you this month. And our guest of the month, cue up the Mississippi Queen, people, because the new guys are coming to the Sit Down Marks podcast. They're fresh off their Road Warrior Cup victory over the weekend. So Dylan and I are going to be sitting down with these 2 guys, man. Going to be shooting the shit. So it's going to be awesome, man. I don't know. I haven't seen these guys on too many podcasts, man. So I don't know that they do too many of those. So, luckily Dylan's really tight with them. So, we got a little in on it. So we're going to be talking about them, what got them into wrestling, all the stuff. We're going to find out everything about Scott and Jake, man. And not only, follow these guys on social media, probably one of the best independent wrestling social media accounts out there.
Absolutely.
These guys put out phenomenal content. Like they go all out with their videos and stuff. So we're going to be talking to them. So I want to thank all our new listeners, OG listeners of the pod. I want to thank everybody because we just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for checking us out and hitting that little subscribe button. And, I didn't think it actually worked. I put it on social media. Hey, go, give us a little subscribe, and some of it worked. So, who knows? At least some of them did. So, we'll be back at Dreamwave here in just a couple weeks, June the 14th. And we mentioned the biggest show of the summer ever, July the 12th. And then August, we're coming back for Double Shot Weekend. If you need any kind of tickets, dwtix.net. Trust me when I say I'm so ready for Dreamwave, man. Like, I'm ready. So get you out of here on this, boys. It's halfway through 2025, man. We've seen John Cena turn heel. How does it all end in the end? Does he take the belt with him? Do we see him put over somebody else and give it back?
Yes.
How does it end, Primo?
At the end, I think he does do the job. And I think it's going to be quite a moment. A lot of grown men will cry. Yeah, man. I was thinking about it today, actually. Like, I might actually get kind of emotional. Like, it's this, I've watched this dude since I was like 12 years old. So, yeah. Especially knowing, like, he's the kind of guy when he says, this is it. I tend to believe him.
Yeah, me too. I think we mentioned that before for sure.
Yeah, I do think he does the job. He does the right thing. I feel like that last match, after it's all said and done, he'll drop the whole heel thing, and he'll have the moment.
What do you think, Sombrero Verde?
I think he puts over Travis Scott cleaning the room. No,
then that won't be a different kind of an emotion from me.
Yeah, I've been all over. I cannot make up my mind what I think's going to happen. I think he will drop the belt before his last match. Like, I don't think it'll be the story will be his last match. It won't be like, is he retiring with the belt or not? Now, if he turns babyface before then, I haven't decided. I'm kind of like Primo. I think after the last match, it'd be the full-on thank you for the past 20 however many years, babyface. Everybody loves Cena. Yeah. I'd really like to see him put over like Braun Breaker or somebody like that on the way out. Maybe he drops it to Cody at SummerSlam or something, and then finishes out the last couple months of the baby.
Yeah. I do kind of agree with that. While it probably is going to be, I don't necessarily want his whole retirement year to be centered around the belt. So, storylines will be good.
Yeah, I'm curious where this I'm going to ruin wrestling is going. You know what I mean? Like, what his idea of how all that's going to play out. But I do think in the end, like, he'll end up giving it back, and or putting somebody over. And it's going to be a big. I
just thought of
you know what I mean?
When does he wrestle Punk? At what point during this year?
Yeah, I could even see that being the final one. And Punk winning then,
because it would have been Randy, but he already wrestled Randy. So
yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'd be okay with that. I kind of would like that, and it kind of makes sense. In a way that they got history. Punk's going to win the title eventually.
Yeah,
that would be wild if it was from like Punk being the guy like leaving with the title. Yeah, ruining WWE.
And now he's stopping John from doing it
to being the WWE like corporate guy trying to beat Cena to win the title.
We did it, guys.
You remember the pipe bomb in Vegas?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was all. You know what I mean?
Sit down, Marks just wrote that if it happened.
Yeah,
I know, right? I want to say this too. Me and Primo just received the latest PWI magazine. It's got Cena on the front of it. But really cool, 2 things in it that's really cool, man. So they got all of Cena's 17 title wins listed in. The first one being WrestleMania 21 in April 3rd of 2005 when he defeated JBL was his first win. I'm currently watching the 2000s era with my son at the moment.
Oh,
And we're in like 2003, so I'm excited to see, Cena right now in the pay-per-views that we're watching is, he's in the 6 mans and he's doing the rap gimmicks and stuff, you know what I mean? So it's gonna be fun to kind of, watch this all come
Him
through.
and Bull Buchanan.
yeah.
And yeah, right. And then so I want to say another thing too, a really cool article in Pro Wrestling Illustrated about GCW. Not Game Changer Wrestling, it's Georgia Championship Wrestling from the old days, man. Cool article in there about Tommy Wildfire Rich, just the stuff that I grew up watching, and it kind of, because, a lot of people don't know what Georgia Championship Wrestling was, that's what originated at 605, on TBS, you know what I mean? So it's what kind of got wrestling on TV. So go check out the new PWI, man. It's pretty cool. Pretty good episode, I must say. It's all right, boys. Well, I want to thank all the Marks Mafia and everybody listening and watching right now. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Electricity, it's undefeated, man. It works or it don't. And when it don't work, you ain't nothing you can do about it, right? Maybe we can circle back, and maybe elaborate on this another one coming on down the road. But Dylan, you sent the list to me just in case this would happen.
Yeah.
And we were literally about to start talking about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to have the list.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it wasn't even your internet this time. It was power. It was the internet. Or electricity. So
There's always something.
Yeah, always something. All right, guys, we'll be back next week talking about pro wrestling schools and academies. So make sure you join us for that. Primo, appreciate it, brother. Sombrero Verde. Thank you, sir. We'll see you guys all next time. I'm the Dirty Bird, of course, and we are Top Guys. We're out. So go figure, right? This was like Dylan's episode. This was going to be the one he's going to. Universe said nope.
Yeah. Not too happy over here, guys.
It was like we switched spots and like 2025 came for you instead of me for once.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get them next time.